So, Guardians, sunsetting is being reversed, and I just wanted to do a quick video giving my thoughts on this, and I want to start by saying that I was not a fan of sunsetting. Not so much because I couldn't use old gear in, certain activities such as trials or new raids and whatnot. I am mostly a PvP player, and I mostly play sixes and sometimes comp more frequently on the rare occasion that it's in a good place, and sunset weapons are still perfectly usable there. And for PvE, your weapons don't matter as much as your abilities anyway. Like, as much as people want to talk about Forbearance being too strong as an ad clear weapon, Forbearance was literally never relevant for me anyway, when a Sunbracer's Warlock or Shinobu's Vow Hunter can do basically the same thing, but 1,000 times more effectively. So my main issue with sunsetting comes down to two things. One, content such as raids and campaigns being removed, meaning new players will likely never have a chance to experience them and thus not realize why certain events in the game were important, such as to a new player, Cade 6 coming back in the final shape is basically irrelevant to them, and they're probably wondering why new players are so hyped about it because they never got to meet Cade in the first place. On top of that, the removal of that content just means that there's just less to do as a whole. While the old Leviathan raids are mostly a walk in the park by today's standards, just having some variety is never a bad thing. And missing campaigns such as the Red War or Forsaken or old raids that were removed means that players will never get to experience certain pieces of content that were important to Destiny's history. Like, if you've ever taken a friend who's just getting into Destiny, or even just a new player that you met in the wild kind of under your wing, as I know many of us have, it would honestly be really fun to show them an old raid like Leviathan and then take them into something like Last Wish, Garden of Salvation, or Vow of the Disciple just to show them how far raids have come since then. And the second reason is sunset weapons became completely unobtainable, and while yes, most of these old weapons are inferior to new ones, there are certain weapons that had unique roles that you just cannot get anymore. And in a few instances, they're still very strong, at least in PvP, such as the OG Mindbenders, which is the only aggressive frame shotgun in the game that still has quick draw. And I'm actually going to take some time at the end of the video to show some of these old perk pools because some of them are still very strong inside of PvP, and there are maybe one or two that would still be good inside of PvE. Now, in other games that implement sunsetting, this isn't as big of a deal, since most other MMOs have trading systems, meaning if you do want an old weapon, you still have a way of potentially obtaining them. But Destiny does not have trading, so if you're in PvP and you're wondering how the dude you tried to melee immediately flipped to a Mindbenders and blasted you, and you inspect them and see they have one of those old sunset Mindbenders with quick draw, and you're thinking about how nice it would be to have an aggressive frame shotgun with quick draw, you're just out of luck. Now, as far as how I think this will affect the game, I imagine it will affect PvP more than anything else because in PvE, your weapons aren't particularly important for 90% of PvE activities in the game in the first place. And in the few places they do matter, such as Day 1 raids, Grandmaster Nightfalls, or maybe Legend Onslaught, newer weapons are still the better option by far. So I think as a whole, this is just more exciting for PvP players, and I imagine you'll see a lot of old favorites make a resurgence for those lucky enough to have them. Weapons such as Tatara Gaze, Kindled Orchid, and Dustrock Blues, and in some cases such as Blast Furnace and Mindbender's Ambition, even though they were reissued, the perk pools on the old versions are honestly just better. You may even see some old weapons that are kind of sleepers, such as the Black Armory version of the Bad News 120 hand cannon, or weapons that may have struggled somewhat in the past due to their archetype but are in a much better place now, such as the Bygone's pulse rifle. So my general reaction to the reversal of sunsetting is definitely a little mixed. I'm very happy for the folks I know that saved a lot of their stronger sunset weapons and can now take full advantage of them. But I'm also kind of pissed off because Bungie in the past had never even hinted that sunsetting might be reversed, and so I'm mostly just thinking about all the weapons I deleted that I could have used now, such as my old Dust Rock Blues. And that's pretty much all I have to say on the subject. My reaction is mixed. I think it's probably a good move as a whole. I'm happy for the people who have those old weapons that they can now take advantage of. And before I end the video, I'll show some weapons that longtime players may want to check their vaults for, because like I said, I deleted all but a few of my sunset weapons, but hey, sometimes the job of a D2 content creator is to guide people to that which you yourself cannot obtain. But if you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, leave me a comment telling me what sunset weapons you're excited to use again, and the best way you can support the channel is to subscribe with the bell icon and share this video with anyone you think might find it interesting or entertaining. But for now, enjoy the weapon showcase, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace, Guardians. So I decided to try to keep the number of weapons that I talk about here down to a fairly small number, since this is honestly something I could talk about for a really long time, but I don't want the video to go on for, 40 minutes, so we're going to keep it to just a few here. And one thing I did forget to mention previously is I really wish Bungie would find some sort of way to make some of these old, sunset rolls obtainable again. Even if a bunch of these, maybe they have plans to reintroduce them. Some of those old sunset rolls, and we'll look at some of them, but some of them are still very strong, and I would love to have a way to still get my hands on them. Personally, I think one possible solution would be maybe for those old sunset random rolled weapons, just open up people's collections for them and let people turn in, materials for a random roll of one of those sunset weapons by pulling it from collections, that sort of thing. Just some way to make sure that we can still get some of these old weapons. But starting off here with a couple of guns that are still thankfully obtainable, you can get them from the tower kiosk. Not Forgotten, and while Magnificent Howl is now a shell of its former self, Not Forgotten is still a pretty good hand cannon. Personally, it was a 180. It's a 140 now, but it still has that precision frame style of recoil. I am really not a fan of that type of recoil, but some people really love it. Plus, with it still being a precision frame, I believe that your AE on it should still pretty well be perfect, so that is also an advantage. And on top of that, Magnificent Howl, it seems, is now at least an okay, kill perk, so there's some usability there still, and this is one of few hand cannons with Zen Moment, and Zen Moment is probably the best dueling perk in the game. The only real issue with Not Forgotten is just that handling, man. That is just abysmal, but you can fix that, handling mods, speedloader slacks, Dragon Shadow, Ophidian Aspect, that sort of thing. So this does still stand to be a pretty decent hand cannon, and like I said before, you can pick this up from the kiosk in the tower, from the exotic kiosk, so this may be worth checking out. Next is actually 21% Delirium, and this is one of few sunset weapons that I think could still have a place in PvE. Mainly because you have Overflow and you have Killing Tally. LMGs are best served as ad clear weapons, and that is a very good combo for an ad clear weapon. With Overflow, your magazine can go up to 204 rounds. That is a ton. And of course, Killing Tally is giving you a damage bonus when you get a kill and whatnot. So this I still think is a good PvE option. Definitely not as good as some of the other LMGs out there, but if you don't have a good ad clear LMG and you want one, this is honestly a pretty decent option. Next up, a very iconic Destiny 2 weapon, Dust Rock Blues. I had one of these, I deleted it, I have regretted it ever since, and I am mourning deleting this even more now. This is a kinetic precision frame pellet shotgun. This has definitely been, power crept, to be sure, but with its perk pool, it still has enough here that it would be viable, and it's an iconic weapon, and it is one of the best looking shotguns in the game, particularly if you have some of the ornaments. I'll let you guys look that up by yourself. Obviously, if you want a kinetic precision frame shotgun, you are probably better off grinding for a Fractithist with like quick draw opening shot, but this was still an iconic shotgun. There was a time when this was one of the top shotguns in the game. It's a great looking weapon, it's a great feeling weapon. I really wish I hadn't deleted mine. Moving on to the weapon that I will never forgive Bungie for doing so dirty. And listen, if they gave us a way to obtain this old perk pool on this weapon, then hey, all is forgiven. But Mindbender's Ambition, probably the most iconic shotgun in Destiny 2's history. Yes, I would say even more so than Fellwinter's Lie, because even when like Fellwinter's Lie and Astral Horizon and Time Lost Found Verdict all dropped, this shotgun could still keep up. And if you have one of those OG rolls in your vault, it might be time to pull it out again. The main reason I like this old perk pool is Mindbender's is the last aggressive frame shotgun in the game that has quick draw. This is the exact role I would personally be looking for. Small bore, accurized rounds, range masterwork, threat detector, and quick draw, which by the way, these two together are insanely fast, right? So as someone who uses shotguns more defensively, I mean, check this out. So with quick draw, that takes your ready speed down to 0.2 seconds, which is insanely fast for an aggressive flip frame shotgun. If you factor threat detector in there, 1 stack, 0.18, 2 stacks, 0.16. And if you want to get really crazy, throw quick access sling on there, 0.15 seconds. That is insanely fast. And that's not to say this is the only good roll here. Obviously, snapshot, quick draw, classic combo, still very good on shotguns, or slide shot quick draw, in case you want the extra range from slide shot, right? When you proc slide shot, that goes up to 76 range, and that gives you an effective range of 6 meters even. Without slide shot, you're at about 5.4. But personally, if I could have one of these, it would still be threat detector quick draw. More than any other sunset weapon, I wish I had an OG Mindbender's Ambition, because the new one is still usable, but it is not anywhere as good as the old one for PvP, and in PvE, there are just better shotguns. So if you have one of these with a roll like that, count yourself lucky. I wish to God that I had one, and please, please Bungie, give us some sort of way of obtaining these old rolls, because I would give just about anything currently inside of my vault to have one of these shotguns. Moving on, Kindled Orchid, another weapon that has definitely been somewhat power crept, mainly due to its base stats being not that great. This is what I would be looking for. Small bore, accurized range masterwork. For a more general purpose dueling role, probably quick draw and explosive payload or rapid hit. And for kill chaining, obviously kill clip rampage. This is not quite what it used to be sure, such as with kill clip and 1 stack of rampage, 1 crit, 2 body. 2 stacks of rampage, you can 2 crit at any resilience. So if you have one of these and you can get, that rapid 3 kill streak, this is still a very strong weapon for 6s at least. Moving on to a couple of weapons that really don't get talked about that often, Ringing Nail. So this is a 450 RPM solar auto rifle, and this has rolls that could be good both in PvP and in PvE, such as for PvP, Zen Moment with kill clip, high impact reserves, or tap the trigger. You could, I suppose, go with like quick draw or under pressure, but Zen Moment is in such a strong place now that I don't think I would pick anything else. I would go Zen Moment and kill clip for kill chaining, or Zen Moment with high impact reserves, or tap the trigger for a dueling role. And of course, 450 auto rifles are in a very strong place in the current sandbox, so this thing could still hang if it was still available. This is another example of one of those weapons that I wish we still had access to. And at the start of the video, you probably saw I had some footage with Ringing Nail. It wasn't a great roll on that one. I just kind of kept it because it was one of the first Black Armory weapons I got. I always loved how it looked, so I mostly kept it for sentimental reasons. But again, even for PvE, right, for ad clear, for example, Dragonfly with kill clip or rampage, that would be really, really strong. So this is another weapon that still has a very good perk pool that I really wish I could get my hands on again. Next up, the Bad News XF4354. This is the Black Armory version of the Bad News 120 hand cannon. And this is by no means Igneous Hammer, but the perk pool is still very good, right? This is what I would be looking for on it. Steady hand, accurized rounds, stability masterwork. Third column, moving target with Zen Moment, or opening shot, or explosive payload, or timed payload for a dueling roll. And I guess you could maybe go like outlaw kill clip or moving target kill clip for like a kill chaining roll, but keep in mind that kill clip 120s do not 2-tap very consistently anymore. Like with kill clip procced, tier 10, 2 crit 1 body, tier 9 to tier 6, 1 crit 2 body, tier 5 and under, 2 crits. That's pretty rare these days. I mean, you could use like Radiant or a kinetic surge or two, and that would probably get you the 2-tap at higher resiliences as well, but regardless, I would definitely still be looking for moving target Zen Moment if I could still get this. Then lastly is actually Blast Furnace, and I know a lot of people are going to say, wait, I got reissued, and that's true, but talking PvP here, I do think that the old perk pool was slightly better for one specific reason. With Blast Furnace's old perk pool, you could have Zen Moment and Head Seeker, and this is a very, very strong combo on an aggressive frame pulse rifle. With the reissued Blast Furnace, Head Seeker and Zen Moment are in the same column, which is very unfortunate. But if you have this combo, this is really good. This is very strong, so definitely check your vault for it. But that's actually where I'm going to call the video. There are other weapons that I could talk about for sure, such as, Bygones or Tatara Gaze, that sort of thing, but I don't want this video to go on for too long, so for now, I will see you all in the next video. Bungie, please give us a way to obtain these old weapons again, and the rest of you, have a good one.